Yeah, hello everyone, and welcome to today's International Women's Day event from the American Business Council. Today we will be showcasing great leaders. First of all, I would want to emphasize great leaders before I emphasize the fact that they are females. Great leaders doing great jobs in the various sectors that they exist. And so I just want to say that I'm standing in for the host. So at some point you would see me on the panel, and at some point you'd see me discussing with our dear moderator for this event. And so our moderator is Mimi White. She is the affiliate member of the American Business Council, our organization. She's in the business of special education and creating awareness for special education in Nigeria, and now completing a doctoral work in that area, especially as it impacts Nigerian children. So she will get back when I think our audio is ready. But without wasting more time, I would just like to introduce our panelists for today. I would start with, in no order of alphabetical order or importance, but really just to share the perspectives of this great men. I would like to introduce to you Ife Kojo. If Kojo is the country director or the country manager for HP Selection, and she's been in this organization for well over 18 years. But what makes me stand out beyond the fact that she is a techie is also that she's a great writer and she's a great speaker and motivator. So we gain a lot from Ife as we move on. And we have again with us Onyeche Tifashi, and this time I'm not going to turn the name the other way around because it's always like, I don't know, I always Tifashi, and it's like, oh my goodness, I just made a mistake. Oh yes, Onyeche has been a great inspiration, not just to other women, but interestingly to me. I met her when she was the vice chair of the ESG, and then eventually as the CEO of Siemens in Nigeria before she now has moved in a space that's very exciting and very unusual to find a woman. I'm not meant to say this, but yes, but this she is the vice president for energy in the in Siemens as we speak today. And so we have also with us here, we have Vanessa. Vanessa, if I mispronounce your surname, please pardon me, Ms. Rooks. So now Vanessa, before 2 minutes before we started, I've been speaking a lot of French with someone else I'd like to introduce, and I told them that I learned so much French that I had not learned in a while. And so Vanessa is the director for West Africa Johnson and Johnson for medical devices. I've met her both at virtually first, and then recently, just last week, I had a meeting, and I'll tell you, there's some elegance around, the way she carries herself and the fact that she is a polyglot. I thought she just was only French until I realized she had other great languages in her kitty. And so we move on to Fumi Omo. So Fumi, again, I have interviewed Fumi in our podcast. Fumi is one great in the space that women, are not seen, mostly insurance, because sometimes people don't find it sexy enough. But it is one area that she's been showing her expertise, and also not just that, she's also very much into philanthropy, into mentorship, and she's been doing a lot of work supporting girls and female students through university. I mean, this is just one drop in the ocean of a lot of things that Fumi has her hands into. And then we have Iriti Samuel Ogu. And now Iriti is the MD CEO of City Bank in Nigeria. Iriti heads obviously the organization, but also she is in the area of leading the organization in issues concerning diversity. And so, I'm speaking extempore. So pardon me if I don't see all the things that I've written, all the good things I've written in my paper, right? So, and then lastly, I hope I'm not missing anyone out, but I have Reem. Now, Reem is very interesting to speak with. I met Reem on LinkedIn. You wouldn't believe it. And this was after we had done some work on franchising, and then she reached out to me and was like, "Oh, who is this other person who's so passionate about franchising in Africa? That's not me." And we connected on the phone and spoke for over 1 hour. And I was like, discovered again that we had other commonalities. Reem is the vice president of the American Chamber of Commerce in Tunisia, and so yeah, and the good thing about this team that we have here, that people know people, school classmates, have from all classmates and French speakers, and there is this camaraderie that I'm seeing here. I'm very excited about. And so I would start off by asking, and just Mimi, raise your hands if I'm good to run away and be at the vaccine, or you want me to help you run your show. Okay, you're good. So I leave you. Shoot. Are you good?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, I'm fine.
I breathe a sigh of relief.
Last but not least, I wanted to introduce you.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to introduce you because I know you can't introduce yourself. So if you don't mind, I would like to introduce you as well. We have Mrs. Margaret O'Lagley. She tells me all the time, don't call her Mrs. O'Lagley, to call her Margaret. So I'm going to call her Margaret today. From the American Business Council. She is the CEO and ES of American Business Council. And you guys pretty much know Margaret. She has over 25 years in food and in the pharma space. And she may chip in as we move through the event, as she shared earlier. But as we move on right now, we just want to go into the questions for today for the panelists. And what I'm going to do is provide 5 minutes for each panelists to discuss the first question. And we just want to know how you found yourself in the space that you're operating in, and also share what you found most interesting about your field once you started in it. So I wanted to first just start with Areti. And when your 5 minutes is up, I'll just raise my hand. I won't interrupt so that you can just conclude, and then we can move on to the next panelist.
Thank you very much, Mimi, and it's wonderful to be on such an esteemed panel. Thank you very much for the invite. So I've worked at Citi for 34 years and have done 11 roles. And those 11 roles have been across 3 countries. Each of those countries I've worked in, Nigeria, South Africa, and Nigeria, I've worked in twice. My roles have ranged from relationship management to operations to product management, and they've also been across country, cluster, and 55 countries, which is the Europe, Middle East, and Africa region. So I guess I came back to Nigeria via the 2 other countries that I worked in. I started my career in Nigeria 34 years ago, came back in 2005, and then back again in 2020. So several countries, different roles, and many different types of exposure within Citi. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. And I wanted to also say, just to remind all our viewers, that Mrs. Areti is the MD CEO of Citibank Nigeria. So I wanted to move on now to Fumi Omo. She's the managing director of Enterprise Life Nigeria. If you could please share with us, like the question again is asking, how did you find yourself in the space that you're operating in? And what do you find most interesting about your field?
Okay, thank you, Mimi. Thank you for having me, and I say good afternoon, everyone. So I say that I find myself in this space more like by accident. And when people ask me, how did you get into this space? I keep saying by accident. Down the line, when I was going into the university, I wanted to study accounting. But for some reason, I found myself in insurance. And I thought, you know what, I will start off with insurance and down the line, cross over to accounting. But after my first year in the university, I realized that insurance was quite exciting and something I would go with. And so I ended up graduating, studying insurance. And so I start work. I start work at a time when most colleagues wanted to go abroad and when most classmates wanted to do something else. And I, at first, wanted to join the bandwagon. But for some reason, through the counsel of my late father, he was more like, why don't you start work in insurance? And if you don't like it, you can always get another job or change careers. So we are 28 plus years into insurance, and that's what I've done all my life. Ask me what I think I've been able to do. I've been able to impact. I'm currently the managing director, the pioneer managing director of Enterprise Life that has its heritage in Ghana. I pioneered the establishment of the entity in Nigeria. And before then, I was the managing director of African Alliance, a company I'd worked in for 25 years and I'd occupied various roles. So in terms of impact, I believe that I've gone through a path that most people find challenging and difficult, male-dominated, but somehow I've been able to carve out a niche for myself. In being able to carve out a niche for myself, especially for the girl child, I've got to be able to impact and mentor such that the mistakes and the pitfalls I've made, I'm also able to guide people not to make such mistakes and not to go into such pitfalls. So that's for me, Omo, for you.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. So let's move on to our next panelist, Ife Kojo, the country manager of Nigeria HP Enterprise, operated by Selectium.
Okay, thank you so much, Mimi, and thank you, everyone. Like myself too, I think that getting to where I am today, it was a piece of chance. Starting school as a child, I have very good, and I loved my teachers, and they were my role model. So my dream was to be a lecturer. That's what I wanted to be. That's what I wanted to do. So after my first degree, second degree, I went straight into school. You know, State University. I would like to withhold the name, and got employed in the State University, worked with them, did so well, loved it, connected with the student. I thought I was on my way, picked up my PhD form. Only for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years running, I wasn't confirmed. And escalation started, and I was told in no certain terms that either I am an indigent or something of the other gender to be able to continue with them. So I guess I was at the right place at the wrong time. So I was encouraged by a consultant who was working with me at that time to leave. And he kept telling me, you've got it. You can relate with people. You can talk so well and you can influence people. I think that you're very good in sales. You should do sales. And it didn't ring a bell because I did industrial chemistry up to master's level. I was a pure science student. So how could I shift straight from science to sales? My parents, my family would practically kill me. However, I gave it a shot, and I went into sales. I went into technology sales. Again, it was more into what I could relate with, which was science. And here I am today, country manager for a good organization, a very strong technology organization. What do I find so very interesting in what I do today? I love the people. Over time, I'm a people person. I relate very well with people. So I could actually influence them and I could keep value. I love technology. And most importantly, I love the economics that comes with the result and the outcome that it gives me. Okay. And my story, and how I started has actually enabled me to look people in the eyes, the girl child today, and say, you know what? You can do it. Don't allow people dump their fears on you. If they don't believe you, it's okay. But if you believe yourself, go for it. And that's it.
Okay, thank you for that. Next up on our roster is Onyechi Tufasi, the VP of Strategy, Technology, and Innovation, Industrial Application Division of Siemens Energy.
Hello, everyone. Really a pleasure to be here. My name is Onyechi Tufasi. I know it's a mouthful for some of us. As Margaret said, my first name is Onyechi. So I'm an engineer. I studied engineering for both my first and second degrees, and how I found myself in the engineering thing. I'm one of those girls that their dad studied engineering and then they found themselves coincidentally, and yes, not coincidentally, my dad had a big push in that direction, lots of suggestions and nudging. And that's how I found myself in engineering, and specifically in the electrical field, because that was also a suggestion from my dear father. And sometimes we have debates because I wanted to study architecture. I was very good in maths, in technical drawing, in arts in secondary school. And he was convinced there was no money in architecture. So he kindly nudged me into the electrical engineering field. And now that I've made a success of my in the engineering field, he's always quick to remind me that he made the right decision. However, I am convinced I would have done well in whatever I had done if I had done what I wanted to do. And that is true for so many women. So I started as an engineer after completing my degrees in the UK in Siemens Power Transmission and Distribution. I worked with them for a number of years in Germany, in the UK, in the US, and returned to Nigeria, where I coincidentally worked for Accenture for 3 years. But I must say I continued my career in Siemens after those 3 years, and I have now worked for my 21-year career. I've worked for 18 years with Siemens. And what has been exciting during that time is, yes, I've always been a minority, either in the beginning, the younger one, or the person of color, or a female. But I found myself always able to interact with people on a level playing field and make an impact. I think that has been the exciting thing about my job. But also working in the energy field, you always feel you're able to make impact for society or industry or whatever market you're dealing with, because power is so fundamental to how we live our lives and how countries flourish and grow, and it has such an impact on the economy. So I think one of the things I was so excited about working in Nigeria was being able to establish the Presidential Power Initiative at that time, coming up with an idea I was so passionate about, creating power for all in Nigeria. And I'm happy the project has taken off, even though I'm not still with Siemens Energy Nigeria, but of course, always looking forward at what can we, as many of my fellow panelists have said, what impact can we create for our environment? Of course, starting with young girls, but also generally for all Africans, so we can make an impact on the global footprint. But yeah, so very excited to be here and to speak more about what about female gender diversity and other topics that relate to International Women's Day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. And moving on now to Vanessa Florence Rooks, the West Africa Director for Johnson & Johnson Middle East, FC LLC.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for having me today in this panel. So, as you mentioned, I am the West African Director for Johnson & Johnson MedTech. I'm French and Gabonese. I'm based in Ghana, Accra, and actually I am in Lagos. So first of all, I think that I've heard all my, my colleagues in this panel talking about the influence of the father, the influence of the family. So I would like also to say that I want to thank my parents because of their role, their support. You know, they believe in my dreams. I remember when I was a young girl, I was, you know, I was saying that I want to travel the world, I want to discover the world, I want to speak many languages, I want to work for an organization like the United Nations, because for me it was, you know, representing, you know, this kind of, I'm a very curious person, and working for such a kind of organization will help me to discover new cultures, new people, and using the different language that I have learned will help me also to navigate into this world. So I want to really thank them for the support they give to me, and they believe in my dream. And here I am working for an international organization, using English as the main language on a daily basis. I'm based in Ghana, as I said earlier, and prior that experience, I work for several multinational. I work for Amadeus IT Group, Air France in the tourism industry. I work for Intertech. I work for also government, US Embassy in Gabon, and also for the presidency of Gabon. And I have also an entrepreneurial background, an entrepreneurial experience in France. So why I'm here at Johnson & Johnson, everybody asks me the question on a daily basis, you don't have any medical background. I want to thank Johnson & Johnson to have put you know, the trust on me, and believing that I can have an impact on saving, you know, patient lives, because this is the aim of the company. The company is driven by what we call the credo. It's a really guidance, and the first, you know, the aim is to save lives. So for me, it's a purpose. So I embrace that purpose, and I'm really, really grateful to work for such an organization, because I find myself in the purpose. And coming from the COVID area, when I was working for the travel industry for Amadeus IT Group, we've seen, you know, our activities going down. The world shut down. Our activity went to zero and then to negative trends. And then we realized that we should have worked on something, you know, to start back the activity. So I was involved in a project called the Safe Travel Initiative, which was a project, you know, to consider the closing of borders, to consider the COVID text, the vaccination, you know, cards, to implement them into the system, into the platform, to restart the travel industry. And then, working for this initiative, I was scrutinized, you know, the healthcare sector. I was scrutinized this sector, and guess where I am now? Working for a manufacturer of vaccines. So that is, you know, that is, I think, an accomplishment, and I'm really, really glad to participate in that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Vanessa. And I appreciate all the passionate responses from all of you guys. I feel like everyone who is a guest on this event is going to benefit from all the information that you guys are offering us through your experiences. So last but not least is Rim Mayari. She's the founder and CEO of Agora International.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies. So it's an interesting question why I am here with you. I think I'm here because I have a terrible personality, and it all started in my early years when I wouldn't take no for an answer. And frankly, everyone was thinking and thanking their parents, and I have to truly thank my father because he had 3 daughters for so many years, and then 10 years after I was born, and I'm the latest, I'm the third, he had a son. And everyone was happy for him being Arab and Tunisian. And he said, no, I was really happy having 3 girls, you know. I like daughters, they're really cute and they like their father. And this is just to tell you that my father has been extremely supportive of my bad personality. And he always said, you know, don't let people push you down. Don't let people tell you what you have to do. Don't let people force you to, you know, kiss them or hug them if you don't want to, your family. And all my education started like this. So if you don't want somebody to hug you, don't do it, you know, just don't hug them. And then when I remember when I had my high school degree, he pushed me out of the door and sent me to Quebec, Canada. And he said, my dear, you know, if you stay in Tunisia, have, you know, just like a regular degree, you probably better be an administrative assistant to start with. So just go to Canada, it's your opportunity. And then when I had my degree, he said, go to the US, go to New York, you know, you can do your MBA there. Don't be afraid, you're gonna make it. I know you're gonna make it. And so it was really strange to have this Tunisian Arab daddy who was pushing all the time his daughter and all my sisters, as a matter of fact, to go abroad, international, study on our own, live on our own, and kept saying, I trust my girls, I have no issue with them. So when I came back to Tunisia, because you know that I had that phone call of, oh, how are you doing? How is your job in New York? No, you have to come back to Tunisia. No, that's it. You had enough fun. You're still my daughter, and I want you back. And I remember having always that so terrible personality. You know, it never changed. Once you have it, you're born with it. So I think I function very bad in a big corporate system. I don't like to have a boss and be told what I should do. So I started my own company. I was fairly young, and I was actually, it all happened by chance. But anyway, so I started very young, and he kept saying, you can do it, don't worry. So then I started a trading company, and he said, you're gonna do it, you're gonna have fun. And then I started a manufacturing company, and I was manufacturing candies, and he was supportive. He'd come to the factory every morning with me, because by that time he was retired, and he said, oh, I love your candies, they're great, blah, blah, blah. So he was very supportive, and I always felt that I had no boundaries because the way he saw me.
I sent quite a few more. Oh, okay.
I'm sorry? So the way he saw me was, I was reflecting myself in his eyes, never had boundaries. Anyway, with the things of life, I came back to consulting, and I went into franchising right after the revolution, because before the revolution, it was only the president and the presidential family who could get into that sector. So basically 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I started into franchising, there was nobody in that space. And I did pretty well. I worked with KFC, Papa John's, Chili's, Nike, Skechers, Century 21, all the big brands. I was the negotiator. I brought them to Tunisia. I also brought some of them to France. I worked in Senegal with Gémeaux. And so it's a lot of fun. Now my biggest market is Libya, where they have only men working space. And they hired me. I have to say, a very big group hired me to bring them franchise and negotiate on their behalf. So it's very empowering for me, and I'm very proud of what I'm doing. So my company now is doing well, and I'm hoping to expand all over Africa. And that's why I was so interested with Margaret having her event on franchising. So for me, it's no boundaries. I have 2 daughters, and I'm planning to raise them exactly the same way I was raised. Especially my 8 years old, she has a terrible personality, and she just wants to be president. She's now thinking how she can do business and who's going to vote for her. So she's scaring me a little bit. But I think I think she deserves to be where she is. Thank you so much for listening to me.
So much for sharing. So we're moving on to our next question. This next question is going to be for Iredi and Onyechi. Can you guys please share with us a project or projects that defined your career? Whoever wants to start can go first.
Okay. I think for me, my defining moment was when I came back to Nigeria in 2004, 2005. And that was at the beginning of the payment systems transformation. And I was very fortunate to be asked by the central bank, the director of payments at the time, to suggest approaches in terms of how Nigeria can transform its payment system. I had no idea then in 2005 that what I was working on and the team that I helped to assemble and also bring in a consultant from the UK at the time was the beginnings of what we now see in terms of how our payment systems have been completely digitized. It was called the Payment System Project 2010. It then went on to 2020, and now it's 2030. So all the advances that we see in terms of being able to use a card, being able to make real-time payments, being able to do e-commerce payments, all the convenience and the whole dematerialization of cash, that was the beginning of that exercise. And part of what we did was even reprice electronic payments. And they were ad valorem, which was a percentage of the volume before. And part of what we did was revise the pricing to make sure it was just a flat fee. So just by taking a call from the a central bank, senior person at central bank, working with them in collaboration to attain the vision that was only 5 years out, I was very proud that all the work that I did and the team that I worked with, both at the central bank and in the industry, is responsible for what we see today in terms of the very convenient payment system we have. There was a time if you needed to buy a car in Nigeria in the early 2000s, you needed cash or a draft. And now there's, people hardly use checks because you have ATMs, you have financial inclusion, you have all of these automated electronic means of operation. And that has set the foundation for open banking, which is democratization of your own data and being able to port your data around the banking system. So it gives me a great sense of joy coming back to Nigeria as I did to become CEO in 2020, that a lot of that groundwork has really been transformational. And it was a great time because with COVID and everything going automated, had we not had that approach to work, we would not have, we would not have been able to deal with COVID. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That was quite an insightful story. Onyechi, are you ready to share, please?
Yes, I am. And thanks very much, Ireti. Almost on similar lines, but I had mentioned earlier about the about returning to Nigeria after my career in the UK and Germany, and coming back to Nigeria in 2006 and realizing I wanted to work for Siemens, but it wasn't the kind of company that I looked up to then, at least our branch in Nigeria. There was still a sort of a bit of discrimination towards Nigerians. The pay for foreigners was much better than Nigerians, and the conditions the Nigerians worked under, I mean, there were even things like separate canteens. And I saw that situation and said, I'm not going to work for this company, even though I was given quite an attractive offer. And started working with Accenture. After working with Accenture for about 3 years, I realized, well, my core is engineering. I want to go back to engineering. I don't want to become a general a sort of advisory consultant professionally. And at that time, I was also headhunted again by a new leadership within Siemens. And one of the first things when I came back into Siemens was wanting to proliferate the success we had through local companies. So I believe so strongly in localization and started to look for local companies that could build our products or assemble them or train on them. And through that, starting to see the opportunity that 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 was evident, or the opportunity to really develop Nigeria economically and develop our own electrification infrastructure through local businesses. So it started to create a vision in me of a new Nigeria with a comprehensive power landscape, both from the generation and transmission and distribution side. And when I took over as CEO in 2014, that was something I started to try to articulate, leveraging the capabilities or the company competencies we had within Siemens at the time. So I would say it took a lot of leadership skill, because I had to convince people within the company on how could we design this infrastructure or this system within Nigeria where there's sufficient transmission, distribution, and generation infrastructure. And there are people locally who are also supporting that infrastructure. So also training systems behind it, service systems behind it, companies that can provide input services and solutions as well, support developing this grand idea. And I would say I started to create some trust and some relationships within the company where people also jointly believed in this vision. And when our company CEO at the time visited Nigeria, he entered into an agreement with Buhari that we would replicate the success we had delivered in Egypt in Nigeria as well. And that was also prompted by conversations that I had with him, and he really he put all his trust in me in putting this together, and that was, I would say, is the project that really, I would say, where I left a mark. And it was interesting because I had to work with government stakeholders and really convince them on the possibility of this project becoming a reality. Also, I would even say at times faced more resistance internally, because the typical German wants to see things done logically, and trying to get them to see as well how this could be done in quite an unpredictable terrain. Also getting the logistics, the partners for logistics, the partners to build this project out was also quite a feat. But I think what it taught me was that people really want to do good worldwide, no matter the race or color. And what we're struggling with when it comes to, for example, if I look at the Ukraine crisis and how it's panning out, what we're struggling with is always the story people tell for themselves or other people tell for you. And what is important is that we as Nigerians and as women are able to speak and define our own story. And just as Ireti said, she came in and people believed and trusted in her and came behind her to develop this payment infrastructure. And I think that was the success story for the project, being able to give this vision of a different Nigeria that could really deliver this project and roll it sustainably. So when I had handed this project over to my successor, and he's now been able to take it to the point of the project starting. But my hope is that it also attracts other investors into Nigeria, and that other suppliers are able to feed into the project, and it's able to drive a return for the economy for us as well. So that would be my defining moment as well. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys sharing so openly. I'm moving on to our next question, and again at the end, everyone will have an open Q&A for anyone who has questions after you guys have shared. So moving on to the next question is for Rhyme and Iffy. What is a special or independent project that you're working on that you could possibly share with us today? Anyone can start.
Can you repeat the question?
Whoever wants to go first is fine.
What is a what? Can you repeat the question? Can you repeat the question, please? Margaret, I'm sorry.
Let me repeat the question for you.
Okay.
What is a special or independent project that you are working on currently that you could share with us today? Something aside from something away from your career field that you might be working on right now.
Okay, I can go ahead with a quick one. Since 4 years now, I am a member of the Société Gabonaise de Néonatologie. So it was before joining Johnson & Johnson. The aim of
Okay, I'll
this,
repeat it one more. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Can I continue? Okay, so as I was saying,
can you hear me okay now?
Yes. I was saying that I'm a member of the Société Gabonaise de Néonatologie since 4 years. And the aim of this medical society is to reduce the mortality of premature babies according to the SDG goals. And in Gabon, the mortality of premature babies is 20 per 1,000, which and the rate we want to achieve is 10 to 1,000. So this society has a role to promote the education of parents, of midwives, and doctors also on the follow-up of premature babies. Why I joined this association of doctors before even working for G&G was because, as I said earlier, saving lives is important, and I'm a mother of premature babies. I have 3 kids, and the 3 of them were premature babies, the first one and then the twins. So this is a really important topic for me.
Bravo, Vanessa. It's hard to beat this.
Thank you so much for sharing.
I can go ahead, right? Hello? I can go ahead?
We can hear you. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay. So thank you so much for that. For me, it will be twofold. Growing up, my father was very impactful. Okay, we grew up from I'm from the Igbo tribe, and within the time I was growing up, I know that it was very difficult to have fathers train their girl child. And my father was an icon who stood out to train all his girls, every one of them. Okay, and I do remember growing up some distant cousins and friends that I have, because we had this tradition in Igbo that, during Christmas, all of us go home, okay, to the village to relate with our relations. And I see a lot of distant relations and friends, and they're not going to school. They won't go to school because it's either their father doesn't want to train them, or the ones that want to go to school, or their parents can train them, don't have enough money. So it actually made a lot of impact for me, growing up. And immediately I was able to, finish school and have a very good job. I started a pet project. I work with what they call ordinary angels, because we believe that what we actually just caring for you, someone just reaching out to you to be able to do something for you, no matter how little it is. So with the ordinary angels, I make it a point of duty to train or pay school fees for girl childs who are not able to go to school, or who their parents are not able to train them. And it's very personal. It's not attached to any level of cooperation or any level of partnership with anyone. It's just me, myself, and I just reaching out to that one girl who wants to go to school and who does not have enough funds to go to school. And I can say that with so much gratitude and gratefulness to God that I have at least 10 graduate girls from the time I started to this date. And I also have a passion for reading and writing, and I write a lot. I guess Margaret has mentioned that I write on true life stories. I write on inspirational stories. I write on motivational stories, and I speak to people. I just want to create that level of difference, no matter how little. I believe that this world, if one of us can reach one of us and reach one of us, we should be able to make an impact to each and every one of us, either way. So those are the things I do in my spare time.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. I want to move on to our last question that I have before the Q&A. And I'm sorry, Rhyme, I don't think you were able to hear the question that I posed, but I would like for you to answer this question. What are some take-home lessons that you can share with the next generation of aspiring executives?
Well, I will tell them network as much as you can. Don't be on your side with your idea. I think networking is very important and it helped me a lot in my life. And I will always also say always learn because of the digital world and the globalization. Things are moving so quickly, so learn. I remember I remember sitting with my team, newly hired on digital management and digital community, and I just didn't get it. And I felt that that they could outsmart me, and I don't like being outsmart, quite frankly. And so I just woke up one day at 5 in the morning, registered on Google, digital training classes online, they're free. And I had my 40 hours certificate in 4 days. At the next meeting, they were talking and I was able to outsmart them on SEO, SEA, how to run a campaign. We should do this, we should not do that. And I was so proud of me because I'm this old mama, but you know what? you're not going to say, I'm going to talk your language. So this is my big recommendation for the young people. Please network, be open to other people, do extracurricular activities, and really believe on what you're doing. Do it from the heart. And if you're in a consulting, advise to the best your client. If you're in a big corporation, wake up and do the best you can. Because if you don't do it, then if it's mitigated at the end of the day, it's not going to pay off. Voilà.
So much for sharing that. And I think that we might have a little bit more time for someone else who wanted to give some feedback to aspiring executives. If anyone else wanted to share on that, I think we have a few minutes to hear just one more person answer that question.
Okay, I'd like to take that and start by saying that my advice to the young girl is whatever you want to be, you can be. And you have to keep at it. You have to remain focused, believe it's doable. But more importantly, what has helped me in the course of my career has been having good people and good support around me. Many times you come to a crossroad, you really don't know the next step to take. You hit a roadblock or there are challenges along the line. At such times, you need seasoned people, sincere people, supportive people, and people who can give you guidance. And that is so, so important. And that's the role of mentorship. I think we all do need a mentor at one time or the other in our lives. And that's the reason why I'm very passionate about helping the girl child, supporting them to achieve their dreams, and getting them to understand that you can actually swim through uncharted waters. It's happened before, it can happen again, and there are no barriers. And barriers only exist in the mind. Whatever you want to do, once you are determined and focused, you're able to do it. Yes, you need a bit of courage, a large dose of courage, and sometimes you need to be bold, very bold. You need to be absolutely resolute, and wisdom is very essential. But and I say sometimes you need to be bullish. You need to have a bullish man within you. So there are few attributes that are required, but more importantly, focus and determination and a lot of hard work. It's a lot more difficult for the girl child here. And that's why we, the older ones, seek to help the young ones by sponsoring them, especially those who we feel are not privileged. There are too many brilliant young girls around who deserve a chance in life. And with mentorship, with sponsorship, and having good role models, they can be what they want to be in life. So those are the few words I have.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think at this time, we'll start preparing for the Q&A. And I just, I guess we should have one more person. We have a few more minutes. Does anyone want to share as well to that? Because right now, you guys being veterans of business, especially for possibly some young women who are watching. I know for me, I feel like a kid in a candy store with getting this feedback from you guys as a young woman myself, starting business in Lagos, Nigeria. And does anyone else have any tips that they would like to share about, you know, what we should be looking for, you know, or, you know, as we're aspiring to one day be like, you know, someone here on this panel?
Okay, I'd like to add to what the last lady has said. It's important to keep the focus. Choose your call. What is your expectation of yourself as a young executive growing, okay, and working to climb the ladder? What is your expectation of yourself? What is the expectation of the organization from you? What are the key values that you have that can bring you to those level of expectations and help you leverage your call? Keep your focus on those things. Every other thing is distraction. Once you choose your call, map your call, focus on it, hard work, integrity, ethical, you know, every other thing that does not bring value to your call and your expectations is distraction. So do not chase distraction, chase your call. Thank you.
So I would like to chime in, so at least yeah, before we end this. But you know, one of the things I say is, and it could be controversial. I don't think woman. I think human. And it's for me a critical aspect because then you tend not to be comparative but competitive. So I do not compare myself. I say, okay, because the man is here or this. I see myself as, I see other people as they are individuals and humans, and my task is, how do I get better every day? How do I get better? Not how do I get better than the man who is here or the woman. How do I get better? And when you have that focus on how do I do things differently, how do I, you're really self-driven and you're your own worst critic, then you're able to go miles ahead. I recall once upon a time when I worked with a Japanese company, and then we went for this trip for a training program with other public affairs people in different parts of the world. I was the only, dark-skinned person, and I was completely oblivious of it. At the train station, we're chatting, and at that time it was, I don't know about now, but very it was few and far between to see a dark-skinned person in Japan who is not an African American and in the military or something. So and then I was just going on, and then one of my colleagues said, "Don't you feel unusual?" I said, "Unusual about what?" She said, that you're black. I didn't even notice. So the point is, be completely oblivious of what other people think that could pull you down, and be very focused, like Ify said, but be very competitive first within yourself, and then, don't see people, in terms of the sexes or what you think they are able to do, but what you are able to aspire to be.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. Again, I have another question for you guys. As I'm listening to the panelists speak, and I can hear how you guys have a very dominant tone to the way that you speak. You guys are authoritative and confident women. And again, I have a question as through my own personal experience of trying to grow my business. Just trying to navigate being taken seriously when you're first stepping in, and what would be the feedback? And I just address all the panelists. When you're first started and you're, having to compete with other people, or just, letting people know that you are qualified from your previous experiences, how would you encourage not only like what Margaret said, not only just women, but just, young adults who are trying to be taken seriously in the business world? And you have a bad day where maybe you interacted with someone and they made you feel like what you presented to them was not something worthwhile, even if it was something that you had been working on for a long time. How, from your experiences, like, how did you deal with that in business? And anyone can answer that question if you've had an experience like that.
Maybe I'll just build on what everyone has said, because if I combine all the advice from my wonderful panelists, then that's really what you have to do. Is you have to know what you're trying to sell or what you're trying to do. You have to learn. You have to make sure that you're competitively positioned. That means you understand in detail about your market and what you're offering. And then you also have to work hard. I think Margaret said that. You have to be ready to give back. I think Ify and Fumi have spoken about giving back. All those things make you a convincing potential. What normally holds us back is nothing but ourselves. I think it's fear that holds a lot of women back, thinking, oh my God, someone else has done this. How can I do it? That's really what you have to overcome, is the self-doubt. And there's nothing wrong with failing. Many of us here are speaking about, yes, we've done this and that, but we've also done many things we didn't do well in, but that's where we even learned the most. I tell you, I learned the most from my hardest experiences. And you look back and say, wow, that was easy to do, but it wasn't. So I can only say, kill that voice that tells you can't do it, and speak up, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes. If I can add to what Onyeche has said, I would say that the starting point should be to understand yourself and understand the business. And you need to also understand what you bring to the table, and you need to be able to articulate what you bring to the table, even in business. In addition to that, you need to understand the competitive landscape, and then understand what gaps are there and how you can pitch using those gaps. So a clear understanding of the landscape would help. And of course, there's the element of fear and self-doubt. I think the greatest enemy we women have is self-doubt and fear. Can I do it? But there are other people there, but they've done it before. Others can be better than I am. So these are issues that we need to deal with. Deal with yourself, understand the market you're going into, the space you're going into, understand the gaps that exist, and try and understand the current players there. And then what do you bring to the table that is unique and different? It will take time. You will fail. I tell people that you have to be resolute in your mind and understand that I will fall, the righteous man will fall, so the Bible says, but then he will stand up. You fall 7 times and rise again. So it's not about falling, it's about failing forward and learning, picking learnings from the failures and allowing that to reshape differently how we do things.
Okay, thank you everyone for sharing. I really appreciate being a part of this panel. You guys have shared so much and you guys are so inspiring. I mean, to me personally, and you guys give me the confidence to just keep pushing forward to where I could possibly end up one day. So I'm going to take everyone's advice, be strong, be confident, know what I have to offer. These are all notes that I've taken, understanding what you have to offer in whatever market you're in, and making sure you're educating yourself as much as possible through training and different things, just keeping yourself abreast of all of the, I guess, the current things that are going on in your industry, so that when you are presented the opportunity, you're prepared for it. These are things that I've taken from what you guys are sharing. And I know that we're wrapping up. That was just, I have one more question, but I know we have to wrap up. But I just want to say again, thank you so much, guys, for being here today and just being an inspiration to not just young business people, but as a young woman, to see women that look like me doing this. It really is. It really is. It motivates me to keep going. So thank you so much. And thank you, I was going to say Mrs. O'Lagley. Thank you, Margaret, for having me here to moderate. I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you to all you ladies.
Thank you so much. Well appreciated.
Thank you. A pleasure. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.